we're leagues away from the early days of Splatoon 2 where it could be 3 Tri-Sloshers and a Rapid winning a tournament.
Oh man, that was the good days.
But it looks like we're finally getting into it. Half and half versus Team Beer. Game number 1 going to be happening on Snapper Canal Tower Control.
And wow, oh wow, the dually squelchers coming out from Dragon Nudo on Team Beer. I like that. Have we seen that so far in the tournament, like on stream?
We've seen one, I believe. There was one player that I believe it was Sleepy Jirachi that actually used the dually squelchers before. But we're also seeing the Tri-Slosher come out from Kraka, who unfortunately is already dead. Nice kill there from Dimitri to try and keep Havenhav's hopes alive. They lost 2 members early on, and now Boneless is going to be the one to jump on the tower. And that checkpoint is so early on. It's also in the water, so it's a very dangerous place to be.
Did you say Boneless? His name is B1 Less.
B1 Less. That one works too. You can either compact it or keep the spaces, I suppose. But regardless, that person is going to be coming away with a kill, looking for another one here. They are going to be running with the Burst Bomb here and also the Splashdown.
He's being chased by the Tri-Slosher.
Doesn't have the Splashdown at the ready yet, so they can't pop it. That's the closest thing we have in Splatoon 2 to a panic button special.
Beer's support from his teammate there saved his life. Oh, that wouldn't have happened pre-1.2, just saying.
Unfortunately, their life was not much longer than that. Now we're going to see Grouchy Couch get on the tower here and try and ride it, but they're not going to get too far.
That was a 96 gal that the Splattershot Pro lost the fight to. That is interesting.
Yeah, Ink Armor weapon's starting to come a little bit back into the meta. It's still a very good weapon.
I didn't see the armor.
It can build it up so quickly with that Sprinkler as well, coming away with a kill there, and that's a 3-down situation on the half and half, so it's going to be another push coming out here from Team Beer, who's probably going to be able to extend their lead. 74, not nearly a good push, but they're getting a good advantage here. They have total map control so far, and they're bunching up on this left-hand side, trying to keep half and half by their spawn.
And I'm going to talk about the 96 gal for a second. The weapon is, if you try and play aggressive with it, if you try and play up front line with the 96 gal, is useless. You're just going to die in every single engagement. But, well, I say that as he's doing it right now and making it work. Good stuff there. The 96 gal is a very, very strong defensive wall. If you stand there and someone engages on you and you already have your bullets flying through the air and they take a shot, that you've already won the fight. It's that simple because you can't react quick enough to dodge the second bullet. And it's got so much range that it just doesn't matter. You know, as soon as you take that first hit, you're probably dead.
The fact that it has that 2-shot potential is so deadly. And speaking of 2-shot potential, Crack is going to be the one to ride on the tower here. Half and half sort of having to come back. They have been down pretty much this entire game. But now
with the
3
dodge
down
rolls
on the side of both teams. Kraka and Beer, the last ones alive, but they're leagues apart from each other right now. Kraka trying to back off a little bit and just wait for his team to respawn here. Beer in the meantime with this Rapid Blaster building up and now popping this Splat Bomb Rush to try and maintain that map control, which is so important even on tower control.
And Team Beer here has a 27-point lead. I honestly don't even know when that happened, but that's such a comfortable lead on a map like Snapper Canal, especially if you look at their team comp. They have 3 long-range weapons, Dually Squelchers, 96 gal, Rapid Blaster, and all of these are very, very, very good defensive weapons, especially on a map like this, as I was saying earlier, where the long-range weapons work so well. And that's going to help them secure this lead. You know, we're halfway through the game. They've got a strong lead. I don't really think they need to worry too much about pushing the tower. They can just kind of keep it at the middle, and they can play the neutral game, and as long as they don't take too many huge losses, they've probably got it in the bag.
Yeah, the fact that this map is so large, sort of like a kelp dome, where you can have a flank from pretty much anywhere. You have to constantly be looking over your shoulder to make sure that nobody's coming around behind you, because it's also a pretty open map. There's not all that many obstacles, just a couple of boxes and walls here and there. So Team Beer making excellent use of that so far, forcing another 2-down situation onto half and half, and now B1 Less, as you call it, with that splashdown at the ready. They're going to wait over by the half and half spawn and try and see if they can get anyone coming out from spawn. One's going to go down there without even having to pop the splashdown, and now looking for another kill there onto Kraka as Grouchy's going to come away with 1 kill there on the Forge Splattershot Pro. Those pros getting buffed recently as well, and now they're going to be absolutely targeted down by 3 out of the 4 members of Team Beer.
And it's exactly like I said, like they don't necessarily need to push, but you know, when you're winning these engagements like they are, constantly making Team Half and Half go 2 players down, there's no point not pushing the tower. It just makes it that much harder for Half and Half to actually get the lead back when they win a fight, kind of like they have right now, and the tower is already in your spawn. You're not going to get much out of it.
And you notice both teams bringing one variant of the Rapid Blaster with them, one the Pro and one the regular Rapid Blaster. It's such a nice weapon to have on the tower. Most long-range weapons are, mostly because you have that hole in the middle that you can use as a body blocker, do some right peeking with it.
Dragon has some choices to make.
A couple of kills there, trying to pop the Tenta missiles here, and will only find 1 with it, I believe, not even getting a kill with it. They'll get Kraken there, who was already weak, only 1 shot to take them out. Now we're seeing Dimitri stay alive here by popping that splashdown. I believe that was on the very edge.
Dodge roll doesn't have iframes here.
And there's so much map control for Half and Half to contend with. We're getting down into the nitty-gritty here. 2 down again, though, for Half and Half. So Kraka going to have to stay alive here, waiting to build up that ink armor. Staying alive is paramount right now. If they want to make an overtime push, they get behind the wall. They're going to wait to pop the ink armor if they can until all 4 members are alive. And now we're getting into that dangerous overtime situation here. But now with a 3-down situation, it looks like Team Beer might have it locked down.
See, Team Beer's positioning there at the end of that game was phenomenal because they know that Team Half and Half had to push the tower. If they wanted to win the game, they had to get on the tower. That's the only way you get overtime, right? And so what they did was they positioned themselves on the side of the map, just on both sides of the middle of the map, and at that point, Team Half and Half can't really do much. They just kind of walk in to the washing machine, and they just, sorry, the washing machine, the car wash, I wanted to say the car wash. And
you're fixated on washing machines today. You confuse the sloshing machine with it?
I've been playing the sloshing machine a lot recently, and it's kind of warping my mind.
I was about to say, you in the market to buy a Kenmore or something? Because that seems to be on your brain, but you're absolutely right, especially when the tower is at a number like 27. That means that Half and Half would have had to contend with at least 2 team fights in order to get the tower to the 26 mark. So it's a lot easier for Team Beer just to kind of stay back on their laurels, play defense, and knock people down 1 by 1, which is what they did, which means overtime wasn't really even required there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's exactly like I said earlier, their team comp was so good for playing defensive that once they got that first offensive push off, it was fine. The game was pretty much over because it's so hard to push into a team that has a 96 gal, giving their teammates armor. They're taking map control with the Sprinkler, and you have the Rapid Blaster, and you have the Dually Squelcher just completely stopping all of your pushes just by shooting in the general direction of the tower. There's not much you can do against that. So when an opposing team with a comp like that gets a 26-point lead on you, the game is as good as over.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the map is just so enormous that controlling all of it is just not feasible. So having passive specials like that Inkstorm at your disposal to be able to take a large portion of that map in your favor is so crucial. And we'll have to see if that carries over as we get into game number 2, which will be Rainmaker on Muscle Forge Fitness.
And Rainmaker Muscle Forge Fitness, this is an interesting map mode combo. I feel like this is kind of like the most vanilla you can get on Muscle Forge Fitness. It uses most of the map, and it uses most of the map effectively as well. There's 2 ways to push the Rainmaker. One's a little bit less safe than the other, but if you can find an early team wipe and take the less safe way, which is on the left side of the ink rail, if you can get that and have it safe, that's like pretty much game because it takes you right to the pedestal. As soon as you land on top of that platform after the ink line, you get it down to, I think, 40, 30 points, something like that.
Generally, we see the vast majority of teams go over to the right. There's a ramp over there that leads up through a straight ramp or to a wall that you can use to try and climb up. We're seeing a couple of members go down early. Team Beer getting locked down here. Both teams actually going 2 down. Dragonuto able to come away with a nice kill there, but it looks like Half and Half trying to pop the Rainmaker shield here. Dragonuto and Beer trying to thwart that effort here. And already both of these teams, Team Beer in particular, being very aggressive, and this map really lends itself to that sort of play style.
And okay, so what happened there was Team Beer just went for that really fast push. They tried to get some points on the board. It didn't quite work out, and they were down a player in that team fight, but they still won the fight, and it got them even more points on the board. Again, 61 points isn't a lot, but that's a really good position to be in less than a minute into the game. They've got the Rainmaker on the opponent's side of the map. They've still got map control of middle, and so they've done a really good job opening out this game.
Half and Half with 2 specials at the ready, a Stingray and a Splat Bomb launcher, waiting for the opportune times to use them. They also now have that Splashdown, and on Team Beer's side, they also have the Splattershot Junior, which is a weapon I haven't seen too much, but it's still a very nice weapon to have with that ink armor. They're going to pop it now and chase down this Rapid Blaster who refuses to use the Splat Bomb launcher until the right moment. Their patience pays off as Joe is going to come away with the kill there, and now finally Half and Half may have an advantage, but they have a lot of map control to contend with here in mid.
I don't know how Negas survived so long when they were in that street there, just under fire from 3 opponents. It was kind of crazy. And now Dragonuto with this that is the Dually Squelchers finding those tracks. And a lot of people are talking about the Splatter Shot in this meta. A lot of people are talking about the Stingray. I want to throw it to the underdog, best thing in the game right now, point sensors. Point sensors right now I think are incredible. They got a buff in this patch so that when you use special power up, ooh, splashdown, that was nice. When you use special power up with them, they track for longer. And just stacking, I believe it is like 2 mains, 19 points of special power up, or sorry, sub power up. I've been saying special, it's sub power. if you get hit by a point sensor, you're tracked for like 14 seconds. That is 14 seconds that you are effectively, you just can't fight people because they're going to know where you are. They're going to win the engagement. You're at a huge disadvantage just because they always know where you are. And point sensors are really, really strong right now because of that.
And the fact that those subs are so relatively cheap, they don't cost that much at all to throw out. So you can just keep spamming them, and they'll be marked until long after you can get 2 more off. So now we see Team Beer trying still to lock things down, half and half, looking to push forward here. Kraka in control, the Rainmaker trying to follow in the path of Dimitri, but they're the only 2 pushing here. Joe in the backline trying to come back and help, but Kraka may already be in too much trouble. Joe looking to take out both.
If they find the 2 picks on Team Beer right now, they're in a good spot. Kraka can get behind them
all the way around.
They're so close to the lead, unfortunately not able to get it. That was huge. All half and half needed there was to get 1 or 2 more picks, and they would have had an easy lead down to up to probably 30 points. But no, Team Beer doing a great job stopping that push.
Smart idea, trying to go for the cheeky flank there. But Nega's going to try and come around. Map control has shifted finally in favor of half and half here in mid. Kraka and the Rapid Blaster trying to take down the Rainmaker, and they'll do that pretty easily. And now smartly, the Range Blaster are going to back off here, which is one of the newer weapons in Splatoon 2. It has a very nice kit, especially now that the Inkstorm is so good in the meta that we have.
Yeah, it's crazy. People have been wanting the Range Blaster for so long. As you know, the CRB was such a huge, strong, powerful weapon in Splatoon 1. And people have been wanting the Range Blaster in Splatoon 2 for so long. And it just so happens that when we get the Range Blaster, it has the best special in the game.
And the suction bomb as well, with that delayed but very powerful detonation, that huge area of effect. It's such a nice one to have to zone people out, especially if you're playing tower control. Nice kill on Dimitri there. That might have been a Kobe with the burst bomb throw, but now time still ticking down here for half and half. They can't seem to get much better of a push than 67, and they went 2 down there. Now finally expending that splat bomb launcher. They're going to get a kill on Dragon Nuka because of the Rainmaker shield popping, but now...
Wow, that's a very good decision. Very, very good decision to stall the Rainmaker there. Keep it up there. There's only a minute left in the game. They need to push down to 42 points, which isn't a lot. So that stall there, buying them that extra, 10 seconds and letting his team respawn and get back to the middle of the map is a very, very good call.
The path you mentioned in the earlier part of the game has not been used yet. Neither team opting to use those ink rails, so I'll be interested to see if half and half elects to push it over there. That would likely get them over to the number that they need, but Nate just kind of locking down the middle part of that map once again. And that's 3 down for half and half. They will have one last opportunity, but it's going to require some clutch kills here. Dimitri coming away with 1 onto the Splattershot Jr. Looking for another here, but the Rainmaker shield is almost already popped. 2 down for Team Beer, and now expending
this is their chance. That's 3 down. That's 3 down. One's respawning. They gotta go now.
And now Kraka's going to try and be the hero with the Rainmaker.
This is their only chance.
Left-hand side.
And oh no, it's going to fall.
The ink rail is popped, but now the Rainmaker has to be picked up once again. A 1v1 engagement between B, and now is trying to look for the kill there, but they're not able to come away with it. Trying to act more so as a distraction. Only Dimitri is over by that Rainmaker shield.
They gotta pop it. They gotta pop it.
He's the last one alive, and that's not going to be enough. Team Beer also winning game 2, looking for that clean sweep.
And Team Beer did such a good job. Just like in the halfway point of that game forward, they did such a good job defending a 40-point lead. That's not a strong lead, but they kept map control, they stayed alive, they made sure they didn't get fully wiped, and that's exactly what won them the game.
And the biggest thing is that they stayed patient. They didn't need to advance forward. They didn't get overly aggressive. For the most part, they didn't extend past mid. They just kind of let half and half pick it up, and they were ready for it and just melted them down and got another one of those 2 or 3 down situations every single time that they pushed. So even though there was an attempt at some late game heroics by half and half, which gives me some hope that they're still aggressive, still optimistic going into game number 3. It just wasn't enough, and Team Beer was able to pretty easily hold them off.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you just said. They held map control, not just in terms of ink control, but they held map control with their positioning. And that's what made it so hard for Team Half and Half to make it to push back in, because if you've got players all over the map watching, every entrance, which is very, very possible on Muscle Forge Fitness, when you're watching every single point of entry that the opposing team has, you can pick them off left and right, and if you go down, you can call to your teammates and say, hey, I'm down, there's 1 or 2 people coming from this side, and then they rotate their positions, and they can just deal with it effectively. And they did such a good job making those calls and holding map control with their positioning.
Yeah, Inkbot Rainmaker also has this same similar problem. There's only a couple of ways you can really take the Rainmaker over to the pedestal, so it's pretty easy to defend them. You can allocate your players pretty easily. I would say 2 over by the ramp and maybe 1 kind of in mid to watch out for the ink rail, but half and half until the very, very end didn't even attempt to go over to the ink rail, so it was pretty easy to say, okay, they have the Rainmaker, set yourselves up over by that ramp, because we know that's probably where they're going to be going.
Now, a thing that I like about Muscle Forge Fitness Rainmaker is you can kind of do one of those fake out strats. It also works on maps like Sturgeon Shipyard, where you kind of focus on going one side and you make the enemy team move over to defend it, and then because there's a drop down and it takes a long time to get back to their side of the map, once you make that drop, you say, okay, no, we're going to go this way instead. And it's just, it catches a lot of teams off guard, and and it's not really something you can prepare for. You got to call it out. You got to defend it. If they choose not to fake it out, which, you know, how often you're going to call a fake out, if you choose not to defend it, you're just going to lose the lead again.
Well, we'll see if any of those sneaky tactics hang with us here as we move on now to Splat Zones on Manta Maria. It is going to be a 2-zone map, but it almost feels like a 1-zone map as both of those zones are literally right next to each other, only separated by one large mast.
And I was a little bit worried when this map actually first came out that the 2 zones was going to be like really lame, but no, it's exactly like you said. This map feels like a 1-zone map. As long as you have control of mid, you're probably going to have control of both zones, and it's not so much of a 2-zone map like Black Belly Skate Park or Mori Towers is.
And it's so interesting because the 25 and 75% marks on this map, they sort of feel kind of cramped. There's a ton of walls. Wow. There's a couple of cubbies. We're already seeing a 2-down situation here on the side of half and half. But the middle part of the map is so open. You have the large open part in the middle of the map where the zones are only interrupted by the mast. And then those 2 large court areas on the left and right, which are perfect for things like snipers or longer range weapons.
A kill with the Tenet missiles, we always take those. That's nice to have. You know, you don't plan on it. You just throw out the Tenet missiles for pressure, and sometimes they get a kill, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'll take it.
It's kind of like a curling bomb. They're mostly used for movement, but it's like, hey, if they get a kill, I'm not going to complain, man.
Right, absolutely.
And this map, also, we're seeing now the Stingray come out. It's so good for Stingrays. I mean, pretty much every map is good for it,
but for the push.
Because it's so straightforward, it's so vertical for the most part, Stingrays can do a lot of work when the enemy team bunches up like that. And then, of course, we have the Inkstorm, which is going to not quite be popped here, as multiple members of Half and Half once again going down. Team Beer really showing that they want to come away with this sweep.
And Shy with the Rapid Blaster Pro there, as they were getting pushed in by the Splattershot Pro. I know there's a lot of pros going around. They made a very good decision. The Splattershot Pro was just kind of walking forward, shooting at them, and they made the decision. They knew they won the matchup in terms of the 1v1, so they just kept shooting. They didn't try and run away, and it actually let them get the pick on, I believe it was Dragonuda, so fantastic decision-making. They didn't get scared. They just stayed calm. That's what let them win that fight. But no, Team Beer still, despite that, looking very, very strong right now, down to 11 points, no penalty. They're going for the knockout here. B actually finally able to get the pick on the sloshing machine, and that's probably going to be game.
That was effectively a 3-down situation there for Half and Half, and that is an easy cleanup there for Team Beer. So Team Beer, a 3-0 sweep over Half and Half, finishing it up on Manta Maria. A pretty quick one at that. I believe an under 2-minute game in our final game of that set.
And I'm not sure exactly what happened there for Half and Half. Maybe they just, you know, they lost the momentum from the start of the game and they couldn't push back in. Or maybe Team Beer was just that strong. And Team Beer coming off of a 2-0 going into game 3 on a mode like Manta Maria Splat Zones. Going into a mode like that with that momentum is huge, because that map is completely all about momentum. And so I think that's just why Team Beer was so strong there.
Yeah, and Kraka also having to shift over from the Tri-Slosher to the Sloshing Machine, which is a very, very good weapon, but it's one he's not nearly as used to as he is the Tri-Slosher. So it's such a nice weapon to have, and you want to bring that Stingray with you. You want to have the potential to take people out from anywhere on the map, but it just didn't pan out that way. Maybe they didn't bring enough in terms of map controlling weapons or specials like that Inkstorm that they so desperately need. But that's going to be an easy cleanup there for Team Beer. A nice 3-0 for them, and they'll be moving on to, I believe, round number 3 in pretty good position.
And yeah, they're going into round 3. That's actually Team Beer has won both of their sets now, haven't they?
I believe so.
So Team Beer 2-0 right now in Group B1. That's very, very strong. I think that's probably a good position for them.
And just winning at least 2 out of the next 3 should be a pretty easy way to get into the top 12 for them. I'm excited to see the other teams in this group, though, sort of their competition, as it were. We're kind of, I believe, alternating between Group B1 and Group B2. So I believe Delta was in B2, and these 2 teams were in B1. So I'll be interested to see where we shift over to next.
Speaking of shifting over to next, it looks